Hey everyone, welcome to FKW. My name's Charlie. We're going to show you a little bit about what we do here. But in the meantime, we're just going to jump right into it and start building knives. Today we're going to be working on scales, handles. We're going to be using red oak, brass pins, knife blanks, and so forth. But let's just get started here. Because the first thing you need to remember is, number one, you have to know the knife you're going to build. So since this is a knife that I've already pre-finished, pre-ground, but we'll get through all of that. But now we got to lay out the scales to how they're going to fit on this particular knife. Follow me over here. On my table saw, what I'm going to do is take a solid piece of red oak. By taking a solid piece of red oak, split it perfectly down the middle, run it through. I'm going to have 2 equal pieces of red oak in length. Lay your knife here to make sure that it covers the entire metal portion of the tang. And then you're good to go at that point. After this point's done, you're going to bring these pieces of wood, which are called scales, not handles, over to your miter box. Once you're at your miter box, set your length, and obviously cut. Once that is done, critical, take those 2 pieces together and tape them with some blue masking tape right here, just to hold them together. Now, if you'll notice, because you're going to be chopping a bunch, depending on how many knives you're doing, you'll have uneven pieces. Not an issue. Marry your front together. This is going to go towards your plunge line. And that's why I put an arrow here. So that's going to go towards your plunge line, like so. Now after that part is done, you're going to take this knife and you're going to use blue masking. Take the blue masking, tape your knife exactly how you want it to fit on your scales. Bottom, I typically go middle and top, and then just slightly off the bottom. Just tape that off. Then you're going to go over to your drill press. Since I'm using 3/16 pins, 3/16 comes in rods, 6-inch, 12-inch, so forth and so on, that will fit through the holes I've already pre-drilled. I particularly care for 3/16, so a little bit easier to work with. After you've got that set, this tape, your holes are drilled, you will have something that looks like this. Well, it won't be shaped yet. We'll get into that. I have my square blocks over there, which we'll continue on with. But that's what you're going to have. On your brass rod, on this particular knife, now just this particular knife, as you can see, I have 2 different knives here. Okay, this is the mid-size. This is done in mahogany. You'll notice that the width of the wood is significantly different. So what's going to happen here is these rods are not going to be 1.5 inches. These rods are going to be 2-inch cuts. Now, yes, it's a little wasteful. I understand that. But once I get into the grinding of the rods and the tapering in order to make them set better, you'll understand all that together. So let's just take this here. Just to give you an example, I'm going to move myself over and set this up, because I might as well make a couple 2-inch rods right now, since I have a couple of those other blades I have to do. So there's one rod. Also, when you get a vise, to get these rubber grips that have different diameter holes in them. It'll make it a lot easier for you. And here we go. Now I've got 2 equidistant rods, brass rods. Let's go out here and play around on the machine. So at this point, we've already got our wood scales cut to where we want them. We've got our rods cut to where we want them. Fire it up. Taper the ends in. Okay. Tapered end. Tapered end. Now once the tapering ends are done, what I want to do at this point is I want to kind of notch the middles with this belt sander. Give it a barbed effect, and what that'll basically do is that'll hold the epoxy later for better adhesion. Now, I've got the barb done almost center. Put a little bit more of a barb in it. And then that's done. Now, gently on the polished other part that's going to be going through the wood. So your knife is going to be seating, the tang of the knife is going to be seating in here at this point. I want this a little scrubbed up for better adhesion, but not too heavy. So I'm very gently going to roll this to scratch it, and you can see the difference. And I will do both sides. Now again, back to the middle and the barb. And then a gentle roll on both sides. That's it, the pins is done. Now we'll go back over to the bench and I can show you what I mean by tapering ends and setting things the way I do. If you notice on a standard 3/16 piece of brass, these are pre-drilled holes. We'll get more into that later, but man, that's tight. So when you have to use your brass hammer to pin these in after the epoxy, and you don't have a lot of time once epoxy's applied, you're working quick. See how much easier that goes in by having them tapered? That's the way you want to roll. All right, now that's these 3 sets. Let's move on to another machine. We've got to get some woodwork done and get these done here. And because I'm going to show you how to do these grind marks. Again, it's back to the same principles that I used on the pins. You don't want a smooth surface in here. You want adhesion. So I use a metal grinder for that, but we're going to see that in a second. Let's go back over to another machine and move right with you. Okay, this has already been ground, but I'm going to show you what I was talking about by using a metal grinder here. You want to scuff this up. Couple grooves here and there for better adhesion. We're going to have to do an alcohol prep on all these anyway, but that just gives you a better idea. So now you know, other than the blade itself, which I'll show you at a later date on how we cut plunge lines, how we actually get the contour of the blade, the spline. What we're going to do is we're going to move on to the handles. Remember the scales, and then we're going to get them ready to go. Tonight we're going to try and get them done, epoxied, and set in place for tomorrow so we can get everything shaved off and finished work done. I'll see you at the other machine. Okay, we're back. As you can see here, I'm getting ready to do some grinding on the wood scales. Now if you'll notice, as I pointed out earlier, see the arrow facing up to the flush end? Then I also drew this out just to make sure I didn't go backwards. Can't fix stupid. So I try to help stupid out a little bit. Now I'm going to go to 180 grit to start tapering these down. By tapering these down on both sides to where it meets the plunge line of the blade. Alright, I'm doing this on both sides. Don't worry about getting into your pattern or where your holes are at this point, because there's a lot of meat that still has to come off of the scales on the outside. But you want to bring this down as thin as possible, within 1/16 of an inch to where your plunge line is for the blade that I'm doing now. So you want to bring that in tight. So I'm going to do both sides till they marry out, and then we'll be good to go. But I'll show you back in here where I have a couple sets already done, and we'll move on to the next step.